Harvey. So let's stay away from school issues, please, because that's not why we're here. You can complain about school budgets or whatever to the school board. But we're here to discuss the budget of the county. And one thing I just preliminary is that we kind of get ripped by having this meeting at, this time, not early in the morning when farmers can be here. By law, it's in the evening. We cannot, that's the way the legislature set it up. We cannot have it earlier. It has to be after 6 o'clock. And we would like to do things different, but when you're told by law that's what you got to do, you got to do it. So, and then the other thing is basically we have to have the meeting before the final valuations set with the state equalization come back, so we're at a little bit of a disadvantage of not, we're estimating. There's nothing set in stone, and again, it's preliminary budget. So that's the purpose of the meeting tonight. When we talked at our budget meeting on last Tuesday, it was looking like the budget was going to be a 5% decrease in the budget. But I know that the ad in the paper says that property tax levy will be, to consider increase in the property tax levy by 13.63%. And I'll have to have Janelle explain that because that's beyond my understanding on how the formula that they use to do that. So you want to wait a little bit to figure that out? Okay. So in the meantime, she's still trying to figure out how that all comes about. We'll take some questions.
I don't have enough handouts. I don't know that I have enough handouts for you, but
but while she's doing that, we'll open it up to questions and go from there.
You mentioned it would be you thought it was going to be a 5% decrease?
According to the budget figures that we went through on Monday, it should be a 5% decrease in the budgeted numbers.
In the dollars in the budget?
Yes.
Was the state telling you to do something then, or?
No. It's just a formula that they use that kind of skews things.
Now, who's they?
Well, the formula is by what is directed from the state legislature regarding this public hearing.
And it's important to remember that the available numbers are estimates only. And that's from that House Bill 1194. And it's for informational purposes only for the meeting. It's not set that way. And we were discussing, we can't figure out after we've cut nearly, actually a little over $200,000 from the budget, why we even have to have this meeting. But see, we don't get a lot of this exact mill levy and tax information. It will be calculated on certificates after the North Dakota State Department has their state tax equalization meeting. So it's really hard to explain to you guys why they would consider going up 13.63%.
And again, as Randy said, this is just the county budget. Schools, cities, fire departments can all go up or do what they want. We have no control over that.
If your budget is down 5%, why aren't you increasing 5%? Why are you going for this other amount?
And that's, I've got to get an explanation from Janelle on that.
I didn't understand the question.
Huh?
I don't understand the question.
Can you ask the question again? Janelle didn't hear you.
If your decrease is 5% that you have to make up, why are you increasing 13.6? It seems extremely.
We shouldn't be. I don't understand where that 13.63% came from.
If you guys want to go through this, and this is the formula that is given by the state. The state gave us formulas to use. And they had 3 examples. Anything over 0 was going to have this public hearing. If it was under 0 or under, you didn't need a public hearing. I don't know what the river. So if you start with the 2011 at the bottom box, this is what it's all about, this bottom box and the formulas. And then I have the formulas over to the side, what numbers I was using to do that, and you will compare those to okay, up on top, the 27,658,882, that's the valuation that I have of all the agricultural land right now, residential, everything, except the utilities. So I use this year's valuation and I use last year's utilities because it's not it's not for me to say if they're going to go up or down. I don't know what they'll do. So with that, I'm using that calculation, this year's, what do you call it? This year's the local valuations, and then the utilities will come later. They don't come until past, sometimes late September. So it all depends on what happens. So you can see that I give you the 2011 total taxable value, and then the 2012, that's the taxable value that I'm guessing at, basically. And from there, the new growth, that's been calculated, so the taxable value excluding new growth comes to that 27,294,189. For the funds that are listed above, in 2011, we levied 115.58 mills. So, you take the 2.6 million, or 643,517 taxable value divided by the 27,294,189, which you got from the taxable value excluding new growth. You get the taxable value, or you get the mill levy, what it would have been last year. So, carrying all those down, the proposed mill levy this year would be 110.05 if we were using last year's valuations. Therefore, we take that divided by the 96.85, which we came up with before, and we come up with 13.63 mils. Grant you, I guess high on the budgets, because I want to have another meeting. But I have no choice because we don't know the valuation. Until we would know the valuation, I can't give an answer. So that's how we come up with this. This is the law, and then this is how we send it to the newspaper. And everything you see on this page is included in the law that the legislature's proposed, which they give you even the inches. You can't meet till 6 o'clock at night. And Jerry, you can explain this further, I'm sure.
We have Jerry Klein is in the audience.
I can't explain it entirely, but the whole issue is there was a concern across the state that there's not enough transparency, that residents don't know that the taxes are going up. And there was a group that came in, and there was a lot of discussion. That print changed, the font changed a number of times on that legislation, but the idea is so that folks know that there may be a change or a mill levy increase, and this way they're here to talk about it. So that's kind of, in a
But yet we
nutshell.
can't, but Jerry, but yet we can't give them an answer.
What is Janelle talking about? She doesn't know the evaluation. We got a bunch of sheets in the mail to change the evaluation. You ought to know that.
No, I'm talking about the centrally assessed, the utilities, like the railroads and the power and the gas lines. They're centrally assessed. We don't have those from the state yet. And they come out late September. So I'm using this year's, what we know what the valuation is for this year. I'm using that plus last year's utilities, meaning the railroad power and gas lines.
So are we basically looking at this, the increased valuation and the same mill levy as last year?
I would have to doubt that. I would doubt it.
You know, our mills should go down.
They should, yeah, but are they?
We don't know until we get that valuation.
Cities,
Yeah.
as far as the county goes, I would
We're
say
just
yes, they'll
talking
be
about-
down. But that doesn't mean the total's gonna be down when the townships ask for money, the cities, the schools, the fire department. They all ask for their own money, and that gets added on to the mills, which we have no idea what they're going to. But I say just as far as the county budget, they should be down, yes.
And if we had a way that we could do this and take out the funds on the formula that the state has provided us, take the funds out that have a separate board and they make their own budget, we could give you probably way more answers. But you know, I don't know if you have, we don't have a lot of control over what, if you start with, welfare, basically the federal government tells us what we're going to pay. Welfare, health district, historical society, water board, and weed board. You go up to the fair board, job development authority. Those are boards that they're separate boards. They're their own entity. They bring in their budget to us. So.
Yeah, I could probably answer that a little bit. There's approximately 21 mills that we have no control over, even though it runs through the county. And those are mills that either it was voted on by the people, such as the fair. You know, it was voted on a number of years ago that $1.5 million would go to the fair. Well, that was voted on by the people. So we, as the county commission, we have no control over that. If they want $1.5 million, they get $1.5 million. Because that's what it was voted on. So things that were voted on. And then other ones are board ones, separate board issues. But I'll just quickly run through. State medical centers sit at 1 mil. That's 1 mil. It's not dollars, it's 1 mil. Senior citizens was voted on 1.5 mil. Again, not dollars, it's 1.5. JDA is 2.3 mil. That was voted on. Health district, that has its own board that sets that budget. That's 4.56 mil. The fair, again, was 1.5. Federal aid roads were voted on by the people. That was 4 mils. Historical Society get $0.25 mil. Garrison diversion, 1 mil. Soil conservation, 1.77 mil. Soil conservation insurance reserve, 0.61 mil. And the water resource district, 2.89. And so those are ones we don't control. Another ones that we don't have control on is if you've got an ambulance district, you voted on separate. Or if you've got a fire district, you voted on that separate. We have no control over those. There is another, like with the weed board, which we do control, but with the weed board, they have to be at least 3 mills, or they don't get any state cost share. So they can't. I mean, they can lower their dollars, but then they're going to lose their state cost share. I don't know what that amounts to, but I really don't want to lose that state cost share. So that's another, one that's 3 mills, please. They really need to stay there.
Can you tell us what healthcare insurance is for?
Healthcare insurance covers the employees of the county.
Not the commission.
Uncovered.
So where's the wages for the county employees then?
The wages for the county employees, that's, I'm not, which sheet
That
are
must
you
be in
looking at?
general, the sheet she handed
Come out
out.
of the general, yes,
General and then the roads.
yeah.
The healthcare
They
is
come out of the
1/3 of
fund.
the cost.
They come out of the fund that they are working for.
Oh, they would be together, okay.
Go ahead.
These are not all salaries. This is all the maintenance of the general fund carries the maintenance of the courthouse, this building, and, I mean, it covers way more than just the offices and, salaries, so.
Go ahead.
There seems to be kind of an alarming trend here.
Okay.
My tax for February of 11 went up 13.7% over the previous year, and in February 12 went up to 14.6%. Now you're coming up with 13 point something. Why can't? What's going on in our public? I can't figure this out. This is so alarming.
Are you using the figures?
Let me finish, please.
Okay.
The rate of inflation for the general public is around 2%. I mean, why can't we stay within somewhere close to that? If this keeps up, these poor farmers, they're going to be out of business in 10 years.
Yeah, and we've,
Is
we
the
went,
state giving you so many imperatives that you have to abide with that's causing all this?
there's some of this that is just mandated. Not all of it. I don't want to say that we're not to blame, but, we've tried to stay at about a 3% salary increase.
How much?
It's 3%. And,
reasonable.
whether you think that's right or wrong, I guess I'll leave that up to you. But
No, I think that's fair.
That's where we've, been with salary increases, right? And we haven't just done 3%. That's kind of an average because we've given, and I'll take the blame for that, but it's always my feeling that we give a straight increase. This year it was $85 a month. No matter whether they made $25,000 or they made $40,000. Because it's always my feeling that the one making the least needs that money just as much as the one making the most. So I've been a little bit more staying away from the percentage where the one making more gets more. Now there's some justification for that if you're, the department or something like that maybe they should get a little more. But I'm not real crazy about that all the time. So that $85 sits kind of right in the middle of 3%. The ones making, a little less are probably getting a little over 3%. The ones making more are not getting 3%. But it's right in that average of 3%. Probably one of the biggest hits that we've taken over the last couple of years is health insurance. Now, we're hearing this year it's not going to be as big of a hit, but the last 2 years it's been somewhere between 10 and 15% cost of health care insurance. And part of what has happened with that is a couple of years ago, before, and I'm going to be straightforward with it, before Obamacare came, we were in the process of when we raised salaries, we would keep the health care capped. That we would not go beyond this amount on health care. So when, lack of a better term, Obamacare came along, we can no longer do that. We cannot cap it. Otherwise, we get thrown out of the grandfather, and it could end up costing us more. So we're trying to stay in the grandfather clause, so now we can no longer cap our health insurance. And that's a big consideration. when we talk 10, 15% a year on health care, and I think you see that all over. It not only, I mean, it's killing cities, it's killing a lot of places with health care. And I don't, frankly, I don't know what's coming down the pike on that yet.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we do budget off of dollars. When we budget, we look at what we think should be an increase. Basically, salaries is you know, salaries and health care. You know, those are the ones that you look at. And we budget dollars. We don't budget off of money that's available. Like, you know, if valuations go up, gee, here's a big fund of money coming into the county. We don't, you know, we budget dollars. Now, are there some funds that maybe we do or should take advantage of with increases? Roads, maybe. You know, and we've talked to some about that maybe we do need to take advantage of, like, the road fund, because I think everybody realizes our roads are getting really bad and they're getting hurt worse all the time, and it's tough to keep up. And we've taken over the federal aid roads from townships. Before, townships kind of took care of them, and we've taken them over because ultimately we're the ones responsible for them, the federal aid roads. So we've taken that over from the townships. You know, we can't keep up on the pavement, and I think we realize that, you know, we can't. We're going to have to start grinding some pavement up. That's just the way it is. It's just getting too costly to keep everything paved. So, you know, we'll try to keep roads up as best as we can, and we do have, you know, some thoughts on some of the roads that we'll try to every way we can to, you know, keep pavement, but there's some that, hey, they lead to nowhere. I shouldn't say maybe nowhere, but yeah, I'm gonna get in trouble.
You're pulling the Missouri stuff now.
Leading to nowhere, but you know, they're not real connectors or something like that, and I think that's one area we got to look at and be realistic on. When you look at Old 52, that's a definite connection there between 3 and 52, and our north, is that, which one, what's the number on that? Yeah, on 4, up there, you know, definite connection from Harvey on over to Hamburg, and further on over to Rockford. You know, there's a definite connection there. So, you know, those are some of the ones that, you know, we're going to try to keep up. Problem with it is you get an 80-20 cost share on that from the federal government, and you got to have local funds to meet it. So it takes probably 3-4 years to build the local funds to be able to do 10 miles of pavement, and it takes probably about that long for the federal funds to build up enough to take care of them too. So.
The cost of repairing or redoing any of these roads is going up dramatically in the last, what, 5-10 years?
Yeah.
Pretty near double what it used to be, so it's quite a job to keep them up.
Your traffic is also changing on your roads because many of the machines are much bigger and heavier, and so they're really beating things to death much more than they used to.
Yeah.
And I think you have to take that into consideration as well.
Absolutely.
And you're being hurt a lot right now by the cost of gas. I mean, we all are being hurt by that.
Yeah.
So that actually makes this 13% like another slap in the face, because we're already in an increased cost point in harvest or living or heat oil or whatever at this moment.
Are there other questions?
So what you're saying is that you're really locked into this due to the state legislature, the mandates, that, in other words, is 13.6%. came about because of the mandates basically from the state?
No, I won't say that.
Okay.
It's the way it's figured. Janelle, could you explain that better than me?
I guess you just kind of have to follow that sheet. I could